Hi, welcome to Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez. Good, solid relationships are based on trust, friendship, loyalty, and love. But what happens if you fall in love with somebody of a different color, culture, or faith? Do you follow your heart, or do you stick to tradition? Helping me answer that question is Dr. Naseem from Central Mosque in Birmingham. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Naseem. Dr. Naseem, what's your take on this, interfaith marriages?
Well, my belief is that if I was going to be advising somebody, I would advise against interfaith marriage. Although Muslims are allowed to marry people of the book, that means people who belonged to a certain code of conduct.
It's not just Muslim people in general, it's Muslim men primarily, isn't it?
Yes, you can marry outside in a different faith, but the crucial question is people of faith. Now, since that command was given, situation has changed. We have got all kind of Muslim and all kind of Hindus and all kind of Christians. We are born in a tradition, not necessarily adhering to an ideology in its fullest extent. From that point of view, I would say, although the permission is there, but my advice would be against it.
Outside of marrying somebody of your own faith.
Yeah.
Now,
and even in your own faith, I would say, look how much agreement is between you and your prospective spouse. Because being a Muslim doesn't mean that everybody is a believing Muslim or practicing Muslim. So I have gone to that extent that even within the same faith, you should look how much common you have got between yourself.
but isn't it true that you never get to know your partner until you're married, until you actually live with the person? You're going to find surprises, whether the person is of the same faith completely, whether, you guys have been raised very similarly. You'll still have opposing viewpoints. You'll still have different ways of doing things. You'll still have that adjustment period.
That's why I use the word maximum number of points and not absolute conformity. So, yes, one should look for as much common ground as you can achieve.
How about somebody that's born and raised in a country like the UK, and they have a lot of commonalities? They are both Asian. They've both been raised in conservative households. They both share core moral values, but one is Hindu, one is Muslim.
Yeah.
Would you be completely against that idea? Do you think that marriage has no chance of working out?
What happens is that as we grow, if we are part of a tradition, something we are conscious of, and there are other aspects which are in our subconscious. And the subconscious element starts to play when we are in a very close relationship and we are facing life together. Now that is when the subconscious element starts to play. For example, if I am married to a Hindu lady, now cow is a very sacred animal for them. To me, it is an eating, something that I can eat. Now how do we approach each other? There will be sensitivity which is in the subconscious mind, no matter how broad-minded you are. And if I am married to a Christian, it will be whether I can eat pork or not, whether I can allow pork to come in the house or not. Now I may be very free-thinking individual, but it is in my subconscious. So it starts to build up. And although you are consciously not aware of something building up, a resentment, but it certainly shows up. And then everybody is astounded, what happened to the relationship?
But if you are marrying somebody, and I'm a romantic, and I believe that you marry for love, and you fall in love with somebody and you've married them, then making a compromise, if you are a Muslim and your partner is a non-Muslim, of not eating beef in the house isn't really that much to give up.
Well, I think the basic element here is something called falling in love. I think that is a very emotional approach,
right,
and very sex-based approach. I should not allow myself to fall in love. I should sort out the relevant questions first. And love is a duty, not an emotional entanglement.
But if you, I guess we have opposing views on this. If you do fall in love with somebody, you don't say, hold on a second, let me first ask them their views on X, Y, and Z. You just follow your heart and your mind just takes a back seat. So are you saying that falling in love is a conscious choice, and before you are actually making that choice, you need to stop and see if we share the same faith?
I think intellectually I would be very worried about the word falling. It is not a pit that we are falling into. It is a relationship we are entering into.
Sure.
Now, if you are entering into a relationship, not falling into a relationship, falling is some kind of blind act. And entering into a relationship is a conscious act. Now, if you are...
So are you of the opinion that when you get married, it should be an intellectual decision and not an emotional one?
It should be a rational decision, which is based on intellect, and not an emotional decision. Because emotions are not very reliable.
Now, we did speak to couples that are in interfaith marriages and interracial marriages and are quite successful. However, I guess their apprehension on coming on the show was what the wider community, how they would react to that. And I am of the belief that an interfaith couple, they might be able to put aside any differences and might make the relationship work. It's the wider community that has the issue with it.
Well, that would mean that they are diluting their own ideology to make compromise. Now, that kind of compromise can occur, but I wouldn't say, living in that diluted state is the best state you should be in. But if you have come to that state, of course, you can work it out between yourself, because nobody is believing in anything. Or you have got a very dilute form of attachment to a particular ideology. Now, if you are living at that level, of course, then why should we bring religion into it?
Well,
the faith is not already there.
Right. I mean, but the longer that we as South Asians are in England, the longer that we stay here, the more our culture is going to become diluted and is going to become fused with the Western culture. And when that's already happening, when that does happen, that means that the cultures intertwine. That means that people of a South Asian origin will then be marrying people from a Western background. And as far as diluting is concerned, that's already happening. And in order for that not to happen, do we then not to just need to go back? You know, we would have to go to India and Pakistan and make sure that we're keeping just within our own communities and not mixing and mingling and intermarrying.
I beg to differ on that. It's not dilution we are talking about. There's an understanding that is developing that people have got different faiths. On a human level, we can have very good relationship, respecting each other. But marriage is quite different because you have got children to be brought up. So how do you bring up children? Which kind of ideology are you going to teach you? Are you going to divide the work? Okay, my wife is going to teach that religion. I'm going to teach that religion. That creates tension.
Why can't they learn both religions? Why does it have to be, why does a child of 5, 6, 7 have to make that choice? Wouldn't that child be better rounded, more aware, and have more knowledge if it was educated on 2 religions as opposed to just one? It'd have a better perspective on life.
Yeah. It can be done, but what I'm saying is that a Hindu is more qualified to teach Hinduism, and a Christian is more qualified to teach Christian.
Sure.
Now, in a marriage relationship, which one part is Christian, one part is Hindu, then Hindu has to teach Hinduism, and the Christian has to teach Christianity. That means taxing your time. The same thing that could have been done by one person, now you are putting 2 people in charge of, and step by step, the whole division keeps on expanding. You are doing, 2 people are doing 2 different jobs. That means you are spending more time, which you could have spent more usefully.
See, but I think that I would have